Okay, so I know this looks ridiculous, and let me assure you, I am neither in the witness protection program, nor am I attempting to make some sort of fashion statement. If you're somebody who's familiar with what these are, you could post a comment in the comments below. But suffice it to say, I will not be wearing these tomorrow. And tomorrow, of course, is when Stronghold Digital Mining will be having its Q3 2023 investor presentation. So listen, there are several things, and I know this is ridiculous. I'm so sorry about having to wear these, but anyway, let's just kind of try to ignore them, right? There are several things that we are both keenly aware of, and that I think we are both incredibly curious to hear more information about. First and foremost, we want to find out what the damage at Scrubgrass happened to have been. And, I'm not necessarily even thinking in terms of the damage to the plant or whatever the issues may have been, but actually the cost, right? The amount of money that Stronghold Digital Mining had to pay to essentially get Scrubgrass back up and running again. I'm not so concerned about pulling forward maintenance, right? That would have otherwise likely have had to have taken place, pulling that forward to have taken care of it while Scrubgrass was offline. That makes perfect sense. I'm very curious, as I'm sure you may be, as to, hey, how much did it cost to actually rectify and fix the issue, whatever that may have been, right, that caused Scrubgrass to have that unplanned outage. And bear in mind, it was not just an outage of Scrubgrass, the waste coal reclamation facility power plant, right? Sort of the power plant portion of Scrubgrass. It was also evidently the data center for a period of time. Now, as you may recall from the October 13th news release, we basically, Stronghold Digital Mining was able to basically get the data center back online and basically started importing electricity from the PJM grid to mine Bitcoin. Not long after, right, the data center was back online, a directive came through from PJM indicating, hey, you can only use about, 10 to 20 megawatts of electricity for a 10-day period of time. So the goal then was, hey, let's get Scrubgrass back up and running, right, as quickly as we can so that basically we can power the data center somewhat uninterrupted. So, that's going to be, if there's any bad news, so to speak, and, right, to be found, I think, in this Q3 2023 investor presentation, it's likely to center around the topic of Scrubgrass and, what may have transpired during that outage, which began in September. So September, of course, was the very last month in Q3 2023, beginning on I'm sorry, did I say Q3? Yeah, I did say Q3. Sorry about that. Yes, yeah, right, of course. Third quarter 2023 ended in September, so of course, any issues of Scrubgrass, it would be, germane to discuss during the Q3 2023 investor presentation, even though, as we know, this issue, sort of also crept into October, which is the first month of Q4. 2023, which is the quarter that we're in right now. Regardless, we got to address this. It's going to be addressed, and we're probably going to find out how much this cost. If I wanted to be somewhat, hey, I'm going to be very, sort of like conservative and cautious, and hey, let me get a big number out there. Maybe worst case scenario, this was like a $5 million problem. I'm not saying that to sound, alarming or shocking, but let's just assume the worst. Hey, maybe it was like a $5 million fix. That's going to show up in our operations and maintenance, right, on the expense side of things. That would be a very, very significant amount of money. So I'm optimistic that it might have been much less than that. But let's, hey, mentally, right, let's just kind of get ready. It might be a big number. Hopefully, it's not going to be dramatically more than 5 million. At most, maybe 5 million. Preferably a lot less than 5 million. But we shall see. And by the way, that's specific to the issue that caused Scrubgrass to go offline. I am not referring to all the other maintenance, which was, I think very intelligently and very strategically pulled forward because, hey, once you've got the plant offline, there's a roughly $50,000 cost when you cycle the plant, right, you can't just turn them off and on like light switches. So hey, if you're already going to have the plant down, might as well pull all that maintenance forward and get it done. So I'm not saying, hey, $5 million worth of, just ordinary maintenance work. I'm saying, hey, worst case scenario, let's kind of steel ourselves, right? Just in case, hey, maybe $5 million just to get the plant fixed, like whatever may have gone wrong. Again, hopefully it's a lot less than that. So beyond that, I can't really think of too many other significant bad news items that would have arisen in Q3 2023. Aside from sort of like a more generic, hey, grid prices were maybe softer than what we would have liked, or things to the effect of, hey, hash prices at the time maybe weren't as robust as they are right now. So that sort of thing. Leaving that aside, I do believe, right, that the Scrubgrass outage is going to be the one area of significant concern, if the word significant is even, appropriate to use. What are we looking forward to, though, beyond that? Well, if you'll excuse me as I scratch my nose here, gosh, it sucks to have an itchy nose when you're creating a broadcast, having a conversation with a friend, right? So I apologize for that. Okay, but what are we looking forward to? We are looking forward to finding out where, if anywhere, we're going to co-locate the roughly 25 megawatts of end-to-end data center infrastructure that Stronghold Digital Mining already owns. It's just a matter of, hey, are we going to plug it in anywhere at all? And if not, that's okay too. But I think it's going to be very useful to get some clarity as to what's going on with regard to that. Beyond just getting the infrastructure plugged in somewhere, there then is the question of how do we fill that data center, right? That so-called third site. How do we fill it with Bitcoin mining equipment? Now, there's one option, which is to simply work with partners, such as, for example, Canaan, right, a world-class Bitcoin, mining machine manufacturer, to maybe work with a company like Canaan to say, hey, can we extend and expand our Win-Win Hosting Plus arrangement to include filling out this entire data center with Bitcoin mining machines that you produce, and we'll have the same terms as already exist. That's one option. Another potential option that exists is for Stronghold Digital Mining to say, hey, you know what, we're going to creatively finance the purchase of maybe 20 to 30 to maybe 40% of the Bitcoin mining machines that would go into this data center, and we're going to own those directly. And then, hey, maybe, again, a partner like Canaan, maybe you'd like to fill the remaining portions of the data center pursuant to a Win-Win Hosting Plus arrangement, right, with your own Bitcoin mining machines. That's another option. A third option, which I don't think is likely to happen, is a scenario in which Stronghold Digital Mining says, you know what, we're going to creatively figure out how to finance the acquisition of all 100% of the Bitcoin mining machines that would be needed to fill that data center, and we're going to own them all ourselves. I don't know that that's likely to happen for a variety of reasons, okay? Now, I do believe there's a potential fourth option. What if that fourth option is an announcement between Frontier Mining and Stronghold Digital Mining? And the announcement might not specifically be a managed services agreement, but perhaps something more along the lines of some kind of arrangement whereby Frontier Mining can play either a primary role or a supporting role in enabling that third site data center to basically be a turnkey Bitcoin mining site, whereby individuals like me, perhaps like you, can actually purchase, right, and participate in Bitcoin mining ourselves. And, the contours and details of what that might look like, right, that's something that we could probably get into this evening, but I think in the interest of time, to keep it really simple, it would kind of be a situation maybe where, hey, maybe I pay $40, maybe $50 per kilowatt, right, of Bitcoin mining let's call it like hash rate that I'm able to acquire, right? So let's say I wanted to basically have my own Bitcoin mining machine. To keep it simple, say the Bitcoin mining machine is a 3,000 watt machine, right? Or 3 kilowatts. Maybe it would cost me $120 a month, right? To basically have that equipment, Stronghold Digital Mining in cooperation, in coordination with Frontier Mining, they do the rest. And, I did do some numbers, and, I'd be able to turn a small profit actually doing it that way. And potentially a much greater profit if we see hash prices continue to go in the right direction. So that is yet another possibility, right? That this third site isn't going to be about, a partner like Canaan filling it with Bitcoin mining machines, and it's not going to be Stronghold Digital Mining directly filling it with Bitcoin mining machines, and there's not going to be a hybrid approach, but rather maybe Stronghold Digital Mining, right, again, in coordination with Frontier, is able to organize and architect a system whereby, hey, we're going to fill that data center, but it's going to basically be sort of like a hosting arrangement that is more retail facing, right? Where someone like me or you can participate in Bitcoin mining economics directly through the mining of Bitcoin. That's a possibility. So are we going to find out anything at all tomorrow during the investor presentation about this? I think there's a very high likelihood we're going to hear something. I mean, I'm almost certain we need to hear something, even if all we hear is, upon further review, we've decided not to pursue a third site at this time, and instead we are going to focus on the basket of assets that we already have and making sure that we can get ourselves up to 4 exahash of actual plugged in operational Bitcoin mining hash rate. And that's going to be our focus from now until the end of the year. And that's going to be that, right? Hey, that could very well be what we hear. And if that's the case, so be it. So what do I think? Well, I think there's a better chance that we're going to hear something more proactive in terms of, hey, this is the game plan for the third site, versus hearing, you know what, we're not going to do anything with the third site at all. As to, again, what are the odds of that? I mean, I'd say maybe, say 70% chance we're going to hear something proactive. Hey, we are going to do the third site, and this is what it's going to look like. We're still working out the details, right? And we'll definitely, give you the details once we have them, but this is kind of what we're thinking. I would say 70% chance of that versus maybe a 30% chance of, hey, you know what? After further review, we're not doing anything, at least not at this time. So, okay, there's that. Do I think there's a chance that we might make an announcement with regard to potential additional sources of energy being brought online at Scrubgrass, about a 700-acre facility? I've spoken in the past about the potential for solar panels to be placed there. Now, that's not just me speculating. It was a note in the Pennsylvania Bulletin, which is kind of a public records newsletter, for lack of a better way to describe it. And it mentioned how specifically, and I'm paraphrasing very generally here, that basically some beneficial use hash was going to be used to create, I guess, a flatter environment for the installation of a solar energy facility. Again, I'm don't quote me verbatim on that. I'm just paraphrasing very loosely here. Is it possible that we're going to hear something about that tomorrow? It's possible. Okay. What percentage chance do I give it? Maybe 20%. Yeah, maybe 15%. I don't know that it's really high on the list. Okay. But it's certainly something that's on my radar. What else? Is there the potential that we're going to hear about some mechanism, right? Some plan, some system whereby Stronghold Digital Mining can tap into the Inflation Reduction Act in a win-win manner. It's going to be a win for the environment because we might be able, through the Inflation Reduction Act and some carbon capture and sequestration tax credits that are being offered in that piece of legislation, it's possible that we might be able to actually monetize the carbon dioxide that, right, the CO2 that, is emitted at both Scrubgrass and Panther Creek. maybe it'll, to begin with, it'll just be a Scrubgrass, the issue, or a Panther Creek, right, where we try to do this, where we're able to capture that CO2 and possibly mix it with a portion of our beneficial use ash to create a supplementary cementitious material, which can have a lot of applications in the cement industry. Might we make an announcement about some sort of partnership or arrangement that has something to do with that tomorrow? It's possible. I mean, gosh, I think in terms of like the odds, I'd also say maybe a 15 to 20% chance. I think that I know for sure that that's something that's being worked on, but as to whether or not we're at a place where an announcement can be made, I don't know. I mean, we'll be pleasantly surprised if we hear something about that. So I think that pretty much sums up, what we have the potential to hear about. Are there some things we might hear about that are totally like from left field, incredibly exciting, really amazing? Yes, there always is that possibility, and I'll leave to your imagination to fill in the blanks as to what that could look like. But insofar as what I think bears the highest likelihood of being talked about at length, I do think it, again, in addition to like, hey, how much Bitcoin did we produce in October, which, might get mentioned, I do think that the really big question mark that all of us are really curious to hear more about is with regard to the third site, right? We've got this data center equipment. What are we going to do with it? I'm very agnostic in many ways about the data center equipment. Hey, whether we plug it in, that would be great. If we choose not to at this time, that's fine, assuming, right, hey, we're going to focus on the basket of assets that we already have, and we're going to seek to optimize those assets to the best of our ability heading into the end of the year. That makes a lot of sense to me as well. Okay, my friend, with all of that said, I will definitely be, listening in to that Q3 2023 investor presentation. I'm really, really excited. I mean, I'm a little bit nervous, right? Because it's like you never know, right? You just never know, both, for the better or for the worse, right? Like what could potentially be coming out tomorrow. But I'm generally speaking, aside from, hey, Scrubgrass, that could be a bit of a sucker punch, so to speak, financially. That could have been a bit of a costly outage. But beyond that, I don't sense that there's anything too dramatically negative. Right beyond just sort of the ordinary. Grid prices were soft. Hash prices were kind of weak at the time. Hash prices, by the way, nowadays are really, really good. But anyway, leaving that aside, yeah. So let's see what happens. Until then, let's stay positive. Let's be great. I apologize once again for these. I won't be wearing them tomorrow. And we will definitely, as I've been alluding to, we will see each other again tomorrow.